Good afternoon, everyone, Jakarta time, and a
Yeah.
very warm welcome to today's ESG Practitioners Forum. I'm Zahra, delivery consultant of Zeroe, that will moderate Zero in for this session. It's meant to be an interactive session for today. So we're here today because a growing number of organizations are taking their first step into structured ESG and GHG reporting. And the journey can feel quite daunting without a proper map. The question we want to explore together is simple but very powerful. The question is, what do you actually need to design right at the beginning to make it all work later? To help us think through that, we're delighted to have with us today a practitioner who has been this exact journey and who is generously sharing what it really looked like from the inside. Please join me in welcoming our guest Silvia, Manager of Development Innovation Center of one of the oldest Indonesian company, Kapal Api Group. Welcome, Silvi.
Welcome. Thank you so much, Zara, for having me here. This is such a honor event that we have here. So I couldn't wait for us to have this interactive session and also with the people here, maybe who's watching that maybe relate to the sharing sessions we have. So maybe I would like to introduce myself. So my name is Anisa Sylvia, and everyone address me with Silvi. I am the Development and Innovation Center Manager in Kapal Api Group as well. I'm the project leader for the sustainability.
Interesting. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you so much.
So, dear audience, a quick note on how we'll run today. I'll be guiding a structured conversation for about 15 minutes, more or less, followed by your question. There is a chat box feature down there where you can put all your questions. We're going to read that for you. And the aim is we're going to have a peer to peer dialogue. So, I encourage you to listen for moments that resonates with your own situation. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's begin with our first topic. We'll start with understanding why structured transition was important from the very beginning. So, first of all, I understand, Sylvia, that in Kapal Api Group, ESG department is managed under Development and Innovation Center. Can you tell us more about the thinking and strategic intention behind this setup?
Okay. All right. Thank you for the questions. That is actually such an interesting questions because what I found in Indonesia, mostly some of the group or the companies have their own sustainability department. In Kapalapi, we haven't have that yet. So placing the ESG under Development and Innovation Center, or what we called the IC, is such a strategic decision, I could say. Because the DIC itself is a department where the transformation and also the future initiative begin. And also the sustainability itself in our group is not so new. We've been doing so many sustainability movements and all that quite a long time ago. But the thing is, however, they were not centralized. So the management believed that the innovation team was the best position to lead this change because our role in here is to build new capabilities and also drive structured transformation. And we know that ESG requires knowledge, cross-functional coordination, and also the clear governance. Basically, what the IC responsibility here is to, because we're group, right? So we have so many companies under us, and there must be knowledge gap that we have between each business unit. So our one of the responsibilities we have is to close the knowledge gap we have through the training and then also expert engagement, and while building the strong foundation such as the baseline assessment and standardized reporting by placing the ESG under innovation. I think we treat it as a long-term effort. It's not just a compliance task.
Very interesting. I saw that the strategic move of KAG is putting innovation first within ESG implementation, which I think that's new. I think this is the first time I see ESG is being managed under such a highly intuitively creative department like the IC of KA. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting.
Yes, the IC itself, we're not only developing an innovation about the products, but also maybe processes, services, and everything. So we explore everything in here. So that's why I think that's the reason why sustainability is in here, because we need to have the same understanding about sustainability itself within our group. So yeah, I think this is a very long-term transformation we have here.
Very insightful, very thoughtful strategy. So yeah, as the context, dear audience, during zero technology implementation, KG decided to have stage rollout strategy. Our question is, Sylvie, what motivated KAG to approach its first GHG inventory in a structured and staged manner instead of like all in rollout?
So, in regards to that question, we approach our GHG inventory proactively, not reactively. So, even though the carbon regulation in Indonesia is still developing, but we know it very well that the global regulations, especially in Europe and also in other export markets country, are already advancing. So we understand that the decarbonization and the carbon transparency will be something that eventually become a mandatory. To prepare for that, we needed to first understand our emission baseline clearly and accurately. So taking structured and staged approach allow us to ensure the data accuracy, the data consistency, and then the documentation across all the business units. So instead of rushing, we focus on building a credible foundation that we can support long-term strategy and future compliance. I think that's the motivation for us doing the GHG inventory, because we know it's coming.
So, what role did C-level endorsement play in setting the directions of this initiative?
Okay, this is what I found in most cases in another company, maybe. Yeah. They have the sustainability, but they also somehow stuck. They're not moving anywhere, because I think one of the things is they are a lack of the support from the either the C level or the BOD. So luckily in Kapal Api Group, the C level endorsement plays a very essential role in here, because it provided a clear direction, legitimacy, and also support. And by having the C-level endorsement, it confirmed that ESG is a strategic priority, not just an initiative from one department. So that itself gave us the mandate to work all across the business units. That give us the endorsement. This is something urgent. This is something that we need to do. And also, secondly, it set the tone from the top. So when the leadership is aligned, resistance usually reduce and the accountability increases. I think that's are the two reasons why it is very essential. And lastly, the leadership facilitated the process by supporting us the use of the digital tools and external expertise like Zeroe itself, so that we can strengthen our carbon accounting process. Without that support, I think the implementation would have been so much pain, would have been so much way slower and more difficult. So yeah, that is how big the role of the C-level endorsement for us. So everyone is moving.
And then what's coming through clearly is that leadership framing really does set the tone for everything that follows, as you mentioned before. And that leads me naturally to the next layer, because good intention at the top still need to be translated into actual structure on the ground. So mission visions to actual execution becoming aligned. So let's talk about how KAG did exactly that. The very first implementation stage, as a background, as a context. Together with KAG, we went through the GHG data mapping exercise. Silvi, as the manager, what were you trying to understand, and what did you actually discover during the very first implementation stage?
Okay. I think Zara know this process. You know this very well about this process. So actually data vaping is like the longest journey actually that we had, probably. So in the very first implementation stage, during the GHG mapping exercise, what I was trying to understand as a manager is not only the availability of the data, but also how the work process will change. So one key discovery that was that implementing the platform was not simply about just installing the system, but it required a shift in the way that people work. So we needed a clear role definition to ensure the process was structured and also efficient. So by the defined roles in here, I meant is so that the workflow becomes so much clearer, because in ensure the data we have is validated, is accurate, we have so many layers in here. So in here, in every stage of the data input and every stage of the data calculation, we have a person in charge, basically. The workflow became so much clearer because everyone knows their role, who is responsible for the inputting the data, who is accountable for the reviewing it, who validates the accuracy of the data, and who manage overall the governance and system setting as the ESG controller. Clarity significantly improved the operational flow. And it also prevented tasks from accumulating to that one person or one department. Every step had an owner, like I previously mentioned, which increased the accountability and reduced the bottlenecks. Because you cannot imagine like you just put one person on or one this department because they have the data, they do everything. That will create so much problem because they have to be the one that input, they have to be the one that verify the data and everything. That is the data accuracy also impacted from that because it's only one layer. But if we have multiple layer, we have people who validates the data and everyone know who responsible for this role and that role. Additionally, we found that training the trainer approach was highly effective in accelerating the adoption. So by appointing the sustainability PICs, or what we call here is a champion in each business unit, we created a internal coordination who could support their respective teams or and also ensure the smoother implementation within the each unit. Because when I was with Lauren, we had a little bit of a discussion about Kapal Api. Since we have many companies under the group, and every unit is different nature of business. So, for example, me as a person in holding, I admit that I will not understand fully about the company that is manufacturer company. Like one of our company is a manufacturer, not know fully about their data readiness, about how things work over there. So we have our own sustainability PICs for the each business unit to ease the process for the implementation of the carbon calculation. So overall, the exercise help us to understand that the successful implementation depends as much on the governance and the role clarity on the technical system itself.
Right, very well understood. So, if the organization had skipped the data and user mapping stage and gone straight to calculation like any other, strategy out there, what risk might have followed in your perspective as a, like first person who really
Yeah.
into the process?
That would be a nightmare, to be honest with you, if I could say it personally. Basically, this is what happened if we skip the data and the user mapping stage and move directly into calculation. The risk would have been very significant. Let's say from the technical perspective, the biggest risk would be unclear calculation boundaries and also inconsistent data definition. Without a proper mapping, we could easily face like a double counting or missing data because the data sources were not clearly identified. The difference and then the differences in units, reporting periods, data formats, small things like that could also lead to a bias or misleading results. Secondly, if we're talking about governance perspective, the lack of the role clarity would create a serious issue. Like I previously described about the role clarity. So without that, without clearly defined data owners, it would be so difficult for us to request corrections or improvements when the problem arises. Because we don't know who created this, who changed this, when this is changed, and all that. So in addition, the audit trails would be weak because we cannot track anything. We don't know who take the responsibility for the data. It's very unclear who changed the data, when the data changes were made, and on what basis the data is changed. And then the last, there is also, this is, in my opinion, the biggest impact, which is internal reputational risk. If the calculation output keeps changing due to the inconsistent inputs, internal stakeholder may lose their confidence in the results. This would reduce the trust in the platforms and slow down adoption across the organization. So overall, skipping the data mapping stage would undermine data credibility, governance, and also the internal confidence, which all of the three are critical for a successful GHG implementation. That is my opinion.
Wow. What strikes me about, yeah, it's kind of, like very processes that, we will never know when we haven't get into that process. And then what
Exactly.
strikes me about what you've just described is how much invisible work happens before a single number is answered into the system. Mapping data, mapping people, testing in control environment, and that's all organizational discipline. And
Yeah.
that discipline does not happen by itself. It needs governance. So much, something we have to design before everything. So let's shift now to how KAG structured that. The people, the accountability, and the change management behind it. Why did KAG decide to deploy a dedicated project management officer along with ESG officer as unified transition management team?
Okay, so our group formed this dedicated transition team to ensure the ESG implementation was structured and also consistent across the group. Because keeping the consistency is the hardest one, I think. So ESG involves regulatory understanding, technical methodology, coordination across functions, and behavioral change. Without a focus team, I think the effort could become fragmented or treated as a secondary priority. And as the PIC sustainability, we acted as as a central coordinator. We setting up the standards, we aligning the methodologies, managing the timelines, ensuring the consistency across the business. We also bridge the leadership directions with the operational execution. So that case is also very important because we don't want any misunderstanding or mistranslated from command from the C level towards the operational execution. So we here actually as a coordinator, we're in the middle. We have to be able to translate what the group wants and how we implement that and how we sound it to the people in the operational team. So I think having a team, having a dedicated team, ensure the continuity, the accountability, and also the discipline towards the transition instead of relying on a temporary or ad hoc efforts. There's no one to monitor, there's no one to set up timeline. That will be messy. I think that's very important if you want to start carbon accounting.
Wow. So it's clear there is this interdepartment, interdisciplinary collaboration. How did cross-functional collaboration evolve over the course of the implementation, in your perspective?
Mm-hmm. So the collaboration improved once everyone understood the urgency and also the strategic importance of ESG. When the business unit recognized that the carbon transparency is inevitable, the mindset shifted from questioning the need to focusing on solutions. As I previously at the beginning mentioned that there is a knowledge gap, and also we have to make sure that everyone have the same understanding about the urgency that resulted in here. because we want everyone have the same sense of urgency about this ESG. This is a priority. This is not a something that you can do later or like put it as a secondary priority. So also each function understood its role. So for example, the operations provided the data, the procurement reviewed the supplier impact, the finance supported the tracking, and so on. Because because of the leadership direction was clear, the collaboration becomes very constructive and also solution oriented. Over time, the discussion moved. At the beginning, we were like, "Why are we doing this?" And right now, we moved to like, "How can we improve this? How can we solve this bottleneck?" And something like that. So yeah.
Amazing. Because we know that the pain, well, data collection is one thing, and the pain of, generating a report is a different thing. Although everyone is like always asking, why are we doing this? This is just like, additional job, they don't see this as related to their KPI. And my question, the next question that I have for you is, at what point did ESG reporting start to feel like a normal part of operation rather than a special project, like the pain in every month, every year, for example?
Yeah. Okay. So I think ESG become embedded when reporting shifted from a special project into a standardized routine. So what we have in here is we collecting the data every monthly or quarterly. That is becomes their priority as well. Initially, it required intensive coordination and the system setup. However, once the methodologies were clear, the responsibilities assigned, the reporting integrated into regular operational cycles, and ESG activities become part of normal business processes. I think it's very easy right now because we already face the hard time in the front, which is clear which is making sure that we have the same understanding, making the definition of the data that we have, the formatting and everything. So when emission reporting become part of monthly or quarterly reviews, which what we are doing right now, yes, it's no longer a project for us. It becomes a routine. So yeah, maybe at first it will start like very hassle, very such a pain because it's a lot of work, blah blah blah. It's because we adopting a new thing, we learning about a new thing. But once everything is flowing, methodological is clear, everyone knows what they are doing, everyone understands urgency, everything has become very normal and it's just like a routine for us. So the evaluation for us, for the IC team also, it's easier because oh okay, this department or this business unit already learned from their previous mistake when inputting the data or something like that. So it just become a normal routine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you've taken us through the what and the how, the structure, the mapping, the governance. I'd like to close the moderated segment by stepping back and asking about the real, the things that you didn't fully anticipate, the lesson that only become clear in hindsight. Because I think that's what people in this room will find most useful to hear. So, what required more discipline than you initially expected, and why? Because I know that with the whole conversation, we know that the discipline is one of the key. Yeah. And then what required more discipline that you initially expected?
Okay. Initially, I wasn't expected this. What required more discipline than we initially expected was the data governance and the consistency. Trust me, people maybe who the company who hasn't adopted GHG inventory or or the carbon calculation, they may think, just put the data, that's it. It's not a hard thing to do. I was thinking the same thing. Like at first I was saying, yeah, just put that in there. We already have data. But no, actually no. So at first anticipated the technical challenges in calculating the emissions. However, the greater challenge was ensuring the data across multiple business units was standardized, accessible, and defensible. Aligning the definition, documentation formats, the emission factors, reporting timelines demanded sustained coordination. So we realized that ESG data carries strategic and reputational weight. Therefore, discipline was not only about collecting the numbers, but it's about the building a system where every figure could be explained and also validated with confidence. This is, I think, this is what everyone should note, should put it in their notes, seriously, because this is data mapping and also putting the data. It's
Yeah.
just like work.
So, looking back, what is the one design decision you will protect at all costs if you had to start again? Of course, we wouldn't start again, but if you must, what is one design decision you will protect at all costs?
I think I would protect the decision to build a centralized governance structure while maintaining distributed accountability. Because having a dedicated transition team ensured the consistency, the clarity, the methodological discipline. At the same time, embedding the responsibility within each function ensure ESG was not is that balance, centralized coordination with cross-functional ownership was critical. Without it, I think ESG risks either fragmentation or disengagement.
And then finally, this is related to our big topic. What does starting ESG right mean to you after going through all the transition processes in Kapal Api Group?
We're going through everything. What is starting GHG right means? I think starting GHG right means building the credibility before the ambitions.
Wow.
Because people tends to like, wow, yeah, this is could be like the thing or something like that. Okay, let's build the credibility first. That is like the biggest homework that we have. So it means clearly defining the boundaries, ensuring the data integrity, documenting the methodologies transparently, and aligning the leadership expectations early. It also meaning that investing in internal education so teams understand why they are reporting, not just how. This is what we always do. Every year, we always have a training, workshop, or anything like that to ensure that our employees, our team, have enough and also have a broad knowledge about sustainability. So it's not only GHG, it's not only SG, they also do so many things. Because we're talking sustainability is a lot of things, right?
Yes.
It's not only about net zero, it's not only about charities, it's so many things. This is what we do, and this is what I'm very proud of to become part of Kapal Api. We support, we facilitated the education that is proper for the team. So starting right is about creating a solid, also auditable baseline that can support the future reduction strategies, and then also regulatory compliance and stakeholder. I think that's it.
That's super big. I think that's a very like how do you take it as a like into a strategic level. And by the way, Kapal Api is like one of the oldest company in Indonesia. It means like as a company culture, you're embedded in this. You're sustained before you have sustainability program.
That is a good.
This is a very insightful talk, Sylvia, and we really appreciate. Thank you so much. That was very genuinely insightful, and I suspect many of the audience here in the room are already connecting these lessons to their own context. Now we have some more minutes for your questions, and I'd like to invite the audience here to drop your question on our questions box. And then whether it is about specific stage of the transition, because I know that ESG GHG is all about transition management, governance decisions, or practical challenges you're facing in your organization. So who would like to begin dropping questions here? Wow, many people are typing, Sylvia. They're kind of, I really like the vibes, in the talk. People are, because maybe it's close to a reporting period, yeah. And then ESG people in every institution are like rushing their time and collecting data and stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like this conversation is in the right moment and also spoken by the right person who really, have a real direct experience on this.
Yeah,
So,
I think
mhm.
I think this topic is very relatable for everyone here, especially if I see the participants are mostly from the FMCG company. I think it's very relatable
Yeah.
because trust me, everyone here, if you haven't done the GHG inventory and anything like that, this session is really useful. This is
Yeah.
based on our
Yeah.
experience.
Also, my experience with KAG was this is very unique. I think this is project. Sometimes in the very beginning, they think, "Oh, this is such a pain" in the very beginning, but this thing is unites us, So I had not only weekly but twice a week call with KAG team and sustainability business in units
Yeah.
business, and they have like from IT team who helps us with the integration, from the operations team. They kind of have like a short call to talk very directly about how to fix things, and it happens, and I feel that, like interdepartment works happens very efficiently in KG, and that's something. And we have question here from Mas Erwin Adinubroho. How specifically is your EPR strategy now and in future, as presidential decree on mandating EPR will soon be released? Have KAG see something about, have some vision about EPR strategy for as a presidential decree?
So our EPR strategy today is still in the preparation and strengthening the phase, but it's already aligned with the direction of the upcoming presidential decree. Currently, we are focusing on the three main idea. First of all is internal mapping, because we understand our packaging portfolio across business units, including the material types, volume, recyclability, and post-consumer pathways. And second, we are evaluating the reduction and the substitution opportunities. And lastly, we are strengthening our partnership, both upstream with the suppliers and then downstream with the waste management and recycling stakeholders. We also, so basically those are three phases that we are doing right now, because this is right now a real issue, especially people in FMCG. I think they already know about this, and we already have our roadmap, where we're going, what is our target every year, and everything. So yeah.
Nice. Okay. So we have, I hope the answer is able to grasp Mas Erwin. Next question is from Mas Abdul Manaf. Can you tell us more about ESG of Kapal Api Group? What are your three priorities right now? I think it has been mentioned before. Maybe you can elaborate a bit more, Sylvie.
Okay, so about Kapal Api Group, about the ESG top three priorities.
Yes.
So besides this carbon footprint, we actually already done so many things, and we keep doing it. So basically, every year we have what we call sustainability initiatives. So we have every year different initiatives implemented and everything. But this is one of them that I could tell you right now. We are right now starting from this social perspective. This is one of them. Yeah, from the social perspective, usually what people do is donating charity. I'm not strong. That is totally right. That is a very good thing to do. That is such right thing to do. But also we try to give a bigger impact and social wise. So not only donating or charity, but we also trying to do something that is more sustained and giving bigger impacts to the society, whether it's in for people who is in the coffee industry or not. So that's actually I can one. That's one of the example. I hope that answer for Bapak Abdul Manaf.
Great, great. Well, we're nearly at the time, Sylvia. What today's conversation has reinforced is that the organization who succeed at ESG are not necessarily the ones who move fastest. They are the ones who build carefully, align early, and design for the long run. Thank you for the enthusiasm, and we kind of like clearly that governance before calculation, discipline before scale, alignment before automation is very important. These aren't just principle for GHG inventory; they are principle for many meaningful organizational transformation.
Yeah.
I hope today
Zahra.
has given you not just insight. And Sylvia, I hope you find it really interesting. And do you have one last additional message for the audience here?
Okay, I would like to thank everyone from here that is join and participate in this session. This is purely a sharing session that I think it is very relatable for everyone in here, especially those who is doing the same thing like Kage do right now. So I hope this session gives you guys something to learn and also it's meaningful in some ways. Thank you so much also for Zara and Zero for inviting me and having me here.
Yeah.
I'd like to look forward for our collaboration in the next future.
Yes, we're also expecting more ESG practitioners from corporate willing to share their, like real pain and then, small milestones to celebrate together. So we're the ESG practitioners, not alone in this, like field, yeah, not just for FMCG. And then, Sylvia, I want to extend our deepest gratitude for the generosity, honesty, and depth of what you shared today. And please pass our regards to Parobi, and KAG team. They're very nice team. And thank you all of you for bringing your question, your curiosity, and your engagement. Together, let's build a strong foundation for greater impact. We're signing out. See you around, Sylvia.